The cabin was unnaturally quiet. Outside, the roar of engines pressed faintly against the fuselage, a constant reminder that they were 30,000 feet in the air. Inside, it was calm, too calm. Flight attendants moved with the practiced rhythm of routine. Beverage carts rolled past rows of dozing passengers, and tray tables clinked softly with plastic cups and wrappers. But in seat 22A, Malik gripped a small juice box in both trembling hands. The 12-year-old boy's knuckles were taut, his brows furrowed in concentration, as he struggled to pierce the straw through the foil seal. He finally got it, but not without pressure. The juice squirted out, a splash of orange staining the cabin floor between his shoes. He gasped. Before his father could even glance down, a voice snapped from the aisle, slicing through the cabin like a razor. "Clean that up now." The speaker was Marcus, a flight attendant. Mid-40s, sharp-featured, taut with authority. He loomed over them, lips curled in irritation, as if Malik's small spill were a personal offense. Malik froze. His small hands hovered above the stain, eyes wide. He looked to his father, David, sitting beside him. David reached down calmly to grab a napkin from the seat pocket. "It's all right," he said softly. His voice meant only for Malik. "We'll clean it up." But Marcus wasn't finished. "I said he cleans it." "Not you." David turned, eyebrows raised. "He's 12. It's juice." He didn't mean to spill it. Marcus stepped closer, a flash of something hostile in his eyes. "And I said he cleans it." The tension wrapped around the row like a rope tightening. David held his son's hand. Malik's fingers were shaking now. "Sir, my son isn't a threat. He's a child." "I've got it." Marcus's lips pressed into a thin, angry line. "You're not following instructions. You're interfering with cabin protocol." That made David sit straighter. "There's no protocol that says a child has to scrub." Juice off the floor mid-flight. Passengers nearby started shifting in their seats. The easygoing rhythm of the cabin was breaking. Marcus leaned in. "You're moving him now." "What?" "You heard me," Marcus said, his voice louder now, meant to be overheard. "You need to change seats." "He's disruptive." David blinked. He spilled a drink. Marcus didn't flinch. His hand moved to his hip, unfastening a small leather flap clipped beside his utility belt. Before David could react, Marcus pulled out a taser. The air collapsed. For a moment, no one breathed. The metallic flash of the weapon caught the cabin lights as Marcus raised it level with Malik. "No!" David shouted, lunging instinctively. Too late. The taser cracked, a violent pop of electricity. The smell of ozone scorched the air. Malik's scream tore through the silence, raw and jagged. Passengers jolted upright, heads turning. A baby started crying 2 rows back. David caught Malik as the boy's body convulsed. He wrapped him in both arms, yelling again, "He's just a child." Marcus didn't move. He stood with his feet planted, taser still raised, his chest heaving. Malik sobbed into his father's chest. His small fingers clutched David's shirt in desperate, twitching spasms. The marks from the taser were already red on his side. Around them, mouths hung open. Some passengers had their phones out, recording. Others were too stunned to move. A woman in 21B whispered, "He tasered a kid." Another man murmured, "He didn't even do anything." David's voice shook. "He's 12. You tasered a child for spilling juice." Marcus's expression didn't change. He was a threat. "I did what I had to do." David stood, still holding Malik, whose body trembled uncontrollably in his arms. A threat? What kind of man sees a kid holding juice and thinks threat? A man behind them, maybe mid-30s, dressed in a hoodie, slowly stood up. "You need to put that taser down." "That was assault." Marcus ignored him. "Flight crew, I need security on standby. Gate side." He barked the words into his walkie. David turned to the other passengers. "Someone help us. Someone please. This isn't right." Another voice from further back, a woman this time, called out, "I saw everything. I got it on video." Marcus turned. "You need to sit down." "No," she said, voice rising. "You need to explain why you attacked that child." The captain's voice buzzed overhead. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. This is a controlled situation." David looked up toward the speaker above his head. "Controlled?" His voice was barely audible, but furious. He looked down at Malik, whose face was wet with tears, his body still shivering in shock. "You're okay," he whispered, brushing the boy's hair back. "I've got you. No one's taking you from me." Malik's lips trembled. "Are they gonna take me away?" David clenched his jaw, forcing calm into his voice. "No, son. You're safe. I promise you you're safe." Inside the sterile glare of an airport interview room, Malik sat curled beneath a scratchy airline blanket. His small body shivered. A nurse gently examined the taser burns on his side while David paced nearby, jaw clenched, fury simmering beneath his calm. Over and over, David was asked to retell the story. To police officers, to airline reps, to a supervisor with a clipboard and a carefully rehearsed apology. "Where is Marcus?" David finally demanded. "He's been placed on leave," they said. "Pending investigation?" David didn't flinch. That's not justice. The next morning, the story erupted online. Footage from inside the cabin swept across social media like wildfire. Headlines screamed, "Airline crew tases 12-year-old black child over juice spill. Father confronts injustice at 30,000 feet. David's phone buzzed nonstop. Activists, journalists, lawyers, and all wanted to hear his voice. In one interview, he sat beside Malik, who stared silently at the table. "We were flying home," David said. "That's all. A child spilled juice and got tasered. People have to understand this wasn't a mistake. This is what happens when a system values control over compassion." The airline released a brief statement, calling it an isolated incident. But the emails came pouring in. Other families, other stories, other children, all swept under the rug. At school, Malik barely spoke. Classmates whispered. Some stared. Some looked away. He sat alone at lunch, head down, sketching superheroes in his notebook. Brave ones, untouchable ones. One night, David sat at the edge of his bed. "I'm proud of you," he said softly. "You stood up, even when it was hard." Malik didn't look at him. "I don't want to fly again," he whispered. "Ever." David's heart cracked, but his voice stayed steady. "You don't have to, not now. But one day you will. And it'll be safe, because we're going to make sure of that." Then came Marcus. He gave a TV interview, eyes tired but defensive. "I followed procedure," he said. The boy was disruptive. "I did what I had to do." The interviewer stared at him. "You used a taser on a child." Marcus looked away. People don't understand how stressful it is up there. The backlash was immediate. Protests erupted outside airline offices. Signs read, "Justice for Malik," and "No more silence." But the company struck back. They sent David a legal notice. Cease public commentary or face defamation charges. David called his brother, is he a civil rights attorney? "They're trying to scare you," his brother said. "Don't let them." David didn't. He gathered medical reports, video evidence, witness statements. He filed a lawsuit, not just against Marcus, but against the airline executives who ignored years of complaints. The courtroom was packed. Cameras lined the steps outside. David walked in holding Malik's hand, flanked by community supporters. Marcus avoided their eyes as his lawyers argued, "There was no intent to harm. My client acted under pressure." David stood, voice firm and clear. "My son was 12. He spilled juice. He needed kindness, not a weapon." Then Malik took the stand. His voice was small, but it didn't tremble. "I was scared," he said. "I thought he was going to do it again." The airline's attorneys tried to spin it, tried to suggest Malik was acting out. But the passengers' footage and their voices told the truth. Then came the bombshell. A whistleblower leaked internal emails, executives joking about problem kids, instructions to be firm even if it makes people uncomfortable, warnings about Marcus ignored repeatedly. The judge's expression darkened. The verdict was swift. Marcus guilty of assault. The airline liable for damages and placed under federal oversight. Outside, protesters cheered. Reporters swarmed. But David didn't stop. More victims came forward. More lawsuits followed. Regulators launched investigations. The industry scrambled to cover its tracks. Then, months later, a letter arrived. The Department of Transportation had revoked the airline's operating license. David sat at his kitchen table, the letter trembling in his hand. Across from him, Malik looked up. "Does this mean it's over?" David exhaled. "No, son. But it means they finally heard us. For the first time in months." Malik smiled, not a guarded, scared smile, but something full, real. That evening, they walked through their neighborhood. Neighbors clapped David on the back. Some hugged Malik. A few kids ran alongside him, asking about his drawings. He laughed. "Just a little. Just enough. Are you proud of me, Dad?" he asked. David squeezed his shoulder. "More than you know." The scars would remain. But Malik was no longer just the boy who was hurt. He was the boy who sparked change. When one voice speaks up, others follow. When the truth is finally heard, even the most powerful must answer. And when a child's pain becomes a movement, that's when silence breaks. If this story moved you, share it. Subscribe to Black and Wronged New, because justice doesn't live in silence. It lives in stories, and in people like you